Hey everybody, G-Bear out here in the desert, October 10th, and it's another episode of Homesteading the Desert. What we're looking at here is something I added on. Instead of having to set a ladder up and climb up there with a hose every time to fill those water tanks, I put this line on there, this PVC, and it goes up into the fill top up there, but it's got a reducer bushing so that the bugs and stuff like that can't get into the water. And it comes down to this connection right here. And all I have to do is come over, connect my hose there, open the valve, and pump the water in. If there's a little water left in the hose after I shut this off and shut the pump off, then I'll just drain that into a watering can and use it for watering the potted plants. And the only thing I had to do was make a little step stool right there so that I could step on it to reach that valve up there, because the pipe I had on hand was just about 2 to 3 inches short of what I actually needed to make it reachable without having to use this little step stool. All right, next in line. Last night I came out to check my propane, and I walked in here and I grabbed a hold of this thing and I wiggled it, and something hit me in the elbow and fluttered out of here. And it came out from down there behind the can in the tank. And I turned around just in time to look over that way and see a Roadrunner scurrying around the corner. And it was a big Roadrunner. It was about the size of a Banshee chicken. I'm telling you, scared the daylights out of me. And he took off. He wasn't injured. I wasn't injured. But something else. I got out here this morning because I heard something knocking. And it sounded like somebody was out here going on the pole. So I says, what the heck is that? I didn't see anybody come up the driveway. I stepped outside and I saw a woodpecker sitting on there, just pecking away at my pole. So he took off as soon as he saw me, flew around the motorhome, came over and landed on my TV antenna over there, right where the ropes are, and he started picking on those ropes over there. I yelled out, hey, get away from there! And he took off flying, and another woodpecker came over from over where the outhouse is and followed him. So I got to keep an eye on them, and they'll run holes through my houses and stuff and move on in. Don't want that, because then once they're nesting, I can't touch them, can't scare them away. So I got to stop them before they do nest. And they've been living out here for hundreds of years, and or their ancestors have, and they can get along living the way they used to, not infiltrating my house. All right. The other thing I did was I came out and I foamed those openings where the wires came in. And it's still a mess of wiring there, but that's going to get straightened out because there's going to be a room built right there. That's what the cinder block over here is for, that and that. I may get to setting the cinder block in place tomorrow and have that all ready to pour concrete on the next trip. And maybe even get the whole outside room built, because it's only going to be 4 foot wide by 3 foot deep. It's just an electric room. All right, moving on down the line. I came inside. I was sleeping last night and it got cold, so I got up and I lit the heater. And I looked at the thermometer up there on the clock, and it said it was 40 degrees. Well, that was kind of chilly, so I had to do something about it. I got the heater fired up, and I had the temperature gauge set on halfway, about right there. Well, the heater kept coming on and off, on and off, on and off, about every 3 to 4 minutes. And I said, you know what? That's going to keep me up all night long. So I got up and I turned it all the way to high, figuring it'll heat the room up and then shut off. Well, it did. But it still kept going on and off, on and off, on and off, except now it was doing it every 15 to 20 minutes. Well, the reason for that was I had no ceiling. So all the hot air was just rising up and escaping. Well, now I've got a ceiling. Look at that. This is 1.5 inch thick styrofoam insulation. It's got foil on one side and plastic on the other side. And I taped every one of the joints, along with also using a special adhesive that comes with this to glue the joints together. So that now up there is one solid sheet. I put all my lights back in, and that light fixture, believe it or not, when I drilled the 4-inch holes, that light fixture just fit right in there perfectly, so I just left it. It'll end up getting changed to something like this, or maybe even a regular ceiling light. I don't know what I'll do with it, but heck, I'm not trying to get in better homes and gardens. I'm just trying to be functional. Anyway, I was also thinking that that cabinet up there, my full-size fridge, is going to go right here. It's 36 inches wide. I've got 37 and a half there. So I was thinking, well, why not put another one of these cabinets right beside that one, except leaving a gap in the middle. The two cabinets with the will leave a gap of about 7.5 inches wide, and then I can just stock some cereal boxes and dry cereal, things like that, right up on top of there on a little shelf in between the two cabinets. And then I put a shelf all the way across the top, and I can store canned goods and things like that. And when I do my canning, I can put all my canned goods up on the top of there, and it'll be ready for the winter. So all I've got to do is verify the height of this cabinet is adequate for the big full-size fridge to go in there. I think it may be. I just want to verify it. And if it is, I'll bring another cabinet up on my next trip, and I'll hang that up there and get that going. All right, so I brought the amp meter into play here. Of course, there's been no wind all day, so I haven't checked to see if it's cranking out yet. But as soon as it does, I'll do a video on that, and I'll let you know what's going on. All right, let's see what I got left here. Oh yeah, my guy wires outside. I showed you those yesterday. I did take away the extra strap I had on there, and I tightened everything down, and I can strum those guy wires like a guitar now. They twang. They're nice and tight, so it should hold that pole real steady and increase my efficiency on my output of my turbine. All right. Where do we go from here? Oh yeah, the string that you see right up there in the top, cutting across the R13 insulation, kind of on a diagonal right up here. The reason I did that was I started filling in this wall and insulating to keep it a little warmer in here, and it's going to be beautiful in here tonight now with the heater running. And the heat, no place to go. It's got to stay in here. The only places that are not insulated are right down there at the bottom. So since heat rises, the heat's got to get all the way down there before it can get out. And it can't even get out then. It's just not insulated like the rest of the walls. But I do have a tight seal there, and there's no air leaks. So it should be comfortable in here tonight, no matter how cold it gets. And I just wanted to say that string up there was because I am closing things in, and I will probably be putting a piece of drywall up there behind the TV, at least coming down to about the panel height, right down here at the bottom of the panel, and that will seal off the top wall for the winter, because when it gets down to 20 degrees, 25 degrees, it'll be cold without some type of a seal on that wall. And the insulation is there, but insulation doesn't do you much good if it's not covered over. What that's supposed to do is trap air in the walls so that you have an air insulation in between your two walls. And I only have the insulation, so there's no trap in there, and the cold air will just seep right out into the room here. So I do have to get that sealed up, and that's a plan that I've got coming. I don't want to buy a whole sheet of drywall and have to store it for the winter until springtime if I don't get the electric room put on before the winter. So I'm going to get working on that and move on with getting all this electrical moved out of here and moved outside. That's going to give me a heck of a lot more room inside here. I slept really good last night except for the cold. I almost had to run over to the motorhome and grab another blanket, but I survived. I just hated burning up all that extra propane for no reason all night long. I have a feeling tonight if I have to turn that heater on, it's going to bring this room up to temperature, and it's going to stay there for a long, long time. Because now I've got everything insulated. All right, until tomorrow, G Bear signing off from the desert.